Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Skeen.
Good morning and welcome to Top Story, 7360300. And good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
It's raining.
I know.
It could be snow, maybe one of these days.
I wish it was snow.
Well,
What's the temperature?
45. I don't think it's
Not
going to
happen
today. Ain't going to happen today,
Not going to happen.
No, sir.
But it would be nice.
It would, yeah. We kind of need some snow. It's about time, you know. It'd be nice to have a white Christmas.
Well, we've got a while before
I
that.
know, but
it'd be
still,
nice just to have snow in December.
It'd be nice if we had some encouragement that we might have a white Christmas. So, at any rate, just saying, just thinking out loud here.
I don't know.
You should be glad I'm thinking at all.
That is a step up.
Hey, coming up this morning, let's see, who do we have this morning?
Who don't we have this morning?
We got the Cops or the Bad Guys list at 8:30.
We have Mike Taika from the CSI Woodshop at 8:20.
That's right.
We have Dr. Richard Wurst at 9 o'clock to 9:40 talking about the effects of marijuana on your brain.
Yeah,
he is a clinical and forensic psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So it should be very interesting. And he wrote a reader's comment in the Times News, I think it was last week or so, about it. And I thought it was interesting and thought it would be great to have him on. Because everyone goes, oh, just fun, just a little pot.
Yeah.
Listen up, people. Anyway, and then we have Andy White from the Idaho Trappers Association.
All right. We got a full day today.
We do. And we had our Rotary Christmas party last night.
Oh, cool.
Very nice. It was, it's always fun to get together. And I just have to say that if I had a dime for every time someone asked me, what are you going to do? Who's replacing Kelly? What's going to happen? Blah, 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 blah. I was almost exhausted. I just really wanted to hold up a card and go, here you go. Just here. I'm tired of answering this.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know. How are you going to deal with that?
I know what you could tell them. You could say, for Kelly, there is no replacement.
Somehow that one didn't come out of my mouth.
Yeah, well, maybe you should
that you're irreplaceable did not come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I like that one
what
even
was
better.
I thinking?
Sorry, but Kelly's irreplaceable.
Oh, my gosh. Everyone. Kelly, what are you going to do?
I don't know.
So I don't know.
They're working on it.
I know. But I need a better answer before I go to Christmas parties. Hello, I should have thought of that. I needed a better answer before I went there last night.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we get to our topic of discussion, there is a little mystery that came about yesterday that we need to clear up to offer you some closure, because no doubt you've been sitting on the edge of your seat since yesterday. After hearing about this, you heard us yesterday talking about the 100 missing brains in Texas.
Yep.
From one of the universities there. Well, there's a new twist. First, word had come that about half of the 200 brains kept at a university research center had gone absent without leave. Then a professor said Wednesday...
Absent without leave. They didn't have a permission slip. Yeah.
Then a professor said Wednesday that they had been located at another school.
Really?
Okay, so
they walked away?
So here's the update. First of all, these 100 brains went missing. Nobody knew where they were. One of the professors said, well, we think they might have been taken, but we don't know for sure. I said, oh, really? But anyway, a preliminary university investigation was revealed that UT environmental health and safety officials disposed of multiple brain specimens in about 2002 in accordance with the protocols concerning biological waste. The brains, which were received in the 1980s, were destroyed because they were not suitable for research.
Okay, this begs the question, and you just realized 12 years later that they're missing? I'm sorry. I think there's a few more brains missing down there that you didn't notice they were missing for 12 years?
That are indeed still walking around, huh?
Yeah, the brains that aren't in a jar.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
The story of the missing brains had been driven in part by initial reports that one of the brains could have belonged to Charles Whitman. He was the guy who climbed a tower on the Austin campus and killed 16 people in a deadly sniper attack. That was in 1966. But they said that there's no evidence we have ever received that Whitman's brain was among them.
Why would they even keep that?
Research.
Okay, 1960. No, his brain, the guy from 1966.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do that.
Okay, but for how long?
I believe they still have Einstein's brain.
Okay, why? What?
Well, research.
Okay, so how much research can you do? It's been how many
I don't
years?
know.
How much
You know
brain
what?
could be left
You
with the research?
need to call him and tell him this is Jill's scheme. I don't think you need to be keeping those brains anymore. I demand you get rid of them because I don't see any reason for it.
Well, here's a newsflash. If they didn't know they were missing for 12 years, they must not have been important to have. Just a thought. Anyway, and moving on, I have to say it's really hard to even talk about this because there are really no words to explain the lack of indictment that happened in the Eric Garner case yesterday in New York. The Staten Island man, I don't know if you haven't seen the video, then you need to see the video, but...
I saw a big guy fighting the police.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saying, don't touch me, and pushing them away. That's what
There was
saw.
Conversation prior to that, and you know what? That is...
Would that have justified what he did then?
What did he do?
He resisted the police.
For what? What was the case?
They tried to arrest him.
What was the case? The coroner said his death was a homicide. It was caused by a chokehold that was a maneuver that was illegal, banned by the New York police since 1993. And honestly, he said, I think between 8 to I don't know how many times, I can't breathe. And then when he passed out, no one helped him. For what? For what?
Selling untaxed cigarettes.
Oh, yeah, that's a crime worth being killed for, which they didn't find the cigarettes on him.
No, that is a crime.
They asked him about it.
That is a crime worth being arrested for.
Do you actually think this is justified?
It was a crime worth being arrested for, and he fought back at the police.
It's a tax crime. It's not a crime that should be arrested for.
Asthma is what killed him.
That is not what killed him.
If this had been any normal human being, it probably wouldn't have killed them.
Oh, are you kidding me?
So they have the right now to fight back at police if they're going to be arrested
just
because of the color of their skin?
What about Clive and Bundy? They were having guns pointing at federal officers and no one attacked them. I am sorry. Do you honestly think this is okay? Do you honestly think this death of Eric Garner is okay?
No, I don't think it's okay that a person died, but I think he brought it on himself.
Why? Because when he had been
fought back at the
hassled.
police. They were trying to arrest him. He was breaking the law.
He wasn't.
He's the one who he was breaking the law.
He was not. No, he was not.
Where do you get this information?
He was selling news.
Untaxed cigarettes.
They never found any cigarettes on him.
Well, he was
not selling it. So how could he say it?
He must have been doing something that brought on that suspicion. Then, so if he wasn't guilty, why would he even fought? He said, should have said, okay, arrest me. I don't have anything to hide. He had to fight back.
Oh my gosh. If someone came up to you and those cops started touching you and stuff and you say, don't touch me, that is beside the point. The cause of death was a chokehold and was ruled a homicide by the coroner. It wasn't asthma, a homicide. And, honestly, when they're talking about body cams for police, body cams, how are they going to help when you have a full-on video of what happened to this man and nothing, not even manslaughter?
Talk to your president about that. He's the one who wants to do the body
cam. Not even manslaughter, nothing, no charges at all.
The grand jury found that there was no reason for charging.
How can you think this is okay?
I don't think it's okay.
Oh my gosh!
But it was his fault.
No, it wasn't his fault.
He brought it on himself.
He's standing there.
He brought it on himself.
They did not even see him.
The police.
Wouldn't you fight a police if they start grabbing at you? And would the police have to grab you?
Absolutely
of course,
not.
But you're not black in America.
Oh, it's all the skin color now.
How can you not say that?
It's not. He was breaking the law.
Oh, yes, of course.
He was fighting
the
police,
be killed.
And he paid the price, so now they want to blame it on the cops. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, my God, you're unbelievable.
7360300. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. This and the Ferguson thing just makes blood want to shoot out of my eyes. All I've got to say for Jill is I wish you could walk for a day in a police officer's shoes. I was law enforcement for 10 years, and unfortunately, bad things happen. But I watched the video several times when it first came out and after this ruling by the grand jury. This man was enormous. I'm 6'3", 225 pounds, in really good shape, and he would dwarf me. And he resisted arrest. They tried talking to him. They tried explaining exactly what they were going to do to him. They asked him for compliance. He refused. Now, just because the bad guy says, don't touch me, No, that doesn't work. He resisted. He escalated the entire situation. His death was unfortunate. And, there's a difference between a chokehold and a headlock. If he'd have complied, very simply, he would have gone to jail, got a ticket, got a notice to appear in court, and would have paid a fine.
And you know what? And he wasn't caught selling cigarettes.
But that's not the point, Joe.
Well, what's the point? Why was he being arrested then?
He was reported he was doing an illegal activity, and the police confronted him. And when he resisted, that's when it turned into a hands-on physical altercation.
You know what? That's shocking to me. Are you kidding me? Do you know the statistics, which you probably do because you're a cop? Do you have? I just can't even believe how you could say it's not color. What those people have put up with in New York, with the stop and frisk and everything they've had to put up with, is just outrageous. And we have no idea. We should be walking a mile in a black person, a young black male's shoes for one day. And you know what? It's disgusting to me. My friend who I've contacted, I mean, he's just heartbroken, terrified for his 19-year-old son. You know what?
His son will be fine if he doesn't break the law.
No, it doesn't matter. You are stopped.
With police.
That is, Kelly, that is so ridiculous to say that.
Yeah, you're right.
They are stopped while driving.
They should be able to commit crimes and get away with it.
Oh yeah, it's a tax crime if he was doing it, yet they didn't find it on him. So you tell me that man deserved to die?
The person escalated it before they even had a chance to look.
Oh, please.
That's the
problem. And then they killed him. And you know what? That was deemed a chokehold, which was illegal since 93.
Actually, that is a hold that the police department has been teaching there since the 1980s.
That has been banned since 93.
Well, you know what? They're still teaching it, so...
No, apparently that one's illegal.
Apparently it wasn't the cop's fault.
Oh, of course not. He just died of suicide. I'm sorry. How did he die?
If the guy hadn't have escalated it,
he would have
still been alive today.
Right. And what happened to Cliven Bundy? He had a court case. He had guns pointing at officers, and they walked away. You know what? If Cliven Bundy was black, he'd be dead today. And you know what? Anyone who can't see
that... We don't know that.
Look at the statistics that are out there. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
There's a black man who was walking with his hands in his pocket going home for dinner and was stopped and said he was deemed suspicious because his hands were in his pocket. You know what? We are not in the right state to even feel what these people are going through. You know what? Walk a day in a black person's shoes and then call back.
Top story. You're on the air. Got about 10 seconds.
10 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, it looked to me like actually it was excessive force. They crushed his windpipe. And another point, real quick, 150 black males were killed by cops last year. 336 white people were killed by cops last year. Thank you.
I think the whites should protest.
And you know what? They don't even record all the ones that are being killed, so... There you go. There's different statistics out there. No, it's true. I can't even believe anyone could look at this and think this was okay and that there's no indictment.
I can't believe you could look at it and say the guy is right.
Are you kidding?
I can't believe that.
If someone came up to you, you're not doing a crime, he's not entitled to be aggravated?
Why would you be aggravated, but don't fight back, for crying out loud.
They started touching him first. He put his hands up, and then the guy jumped around. Oh, so they're allowed to do that?
We'll be right back. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. We have Mike Tilka with us from the CSI Woodworking Program. But before we do that, I want to tell you about Far More of Idaho and about their Infrared Barren program. Now, I know we're not irrigating crops right now, but we will be soon. And Far More of Idaho has what's called the Infrared Barren. They do overflights of your fields with infrared photography, which allows you to see all kinds of stuff that you can't see with your naked eye. You can tell if your field's getting too wet in places or it's too dry in places, even though by the naked eye it might look totally fine. So what you need to do is go on down to Far More of Idaho, talk to them, 324-3341, catch them online at farmoreofidaho.com, and they can help you out with Infrared Barren. It doesn't cost, it pays.
It does.
Mike Tilka, how you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing great today. How are you guys?
Just
Good.
doing swell.
I love your shirt.
Well, thank
Ohio
you.
State
Ohio
shirt.
State? Yeah.
Yes. He's a Buckeye,
Now, wait a minute.
actually.
Where's the Ohio State? It should be the Ohio
No,
State.
it's not. That's the proper name, the Ohio State University, but you can have Ohio State on your shirt.
Well,
My
you didn't
gosh.
tell me that.
I've
You
said
told
that a
me
million
it's gotta
times.
Be the Ohio State.
When you call it the Ohio State University.
The Ohio State University
Okay, let's
Buckeyes.
not take up my. He doesn't know
Okay.
anything about
Go
football.
Buckeyes.
Mike's from Ohio, so anyway, thank you. And you got a 25th annual woodworking auction coming up.
We do. On Saturday in the Rick Allen Room at the CSI Harrod Center, we are going to have the annual woodworking show, and it's the 25th, so it's a silver anniversary.
Wow.
And we've got a number of things there, some good quality pieces of furniture. We've got a mining cart coffee table. We've got an antique coffee table. We've got a great bed, a liquor cabinet built by one of our exchange students from Germany.
Nice.
Chessboard, walnut cherry gun cabinet, just a magnificent piece. Part of it was done on the CNC machine. Some miscellaneous things that are a little bit more affordable, like cutting boards, rolling pins. Come on out and take a look around. And Friday, tomorrow, will be our preview from 2 o'clock till 4.
Oh, okay. Now, you took us out there, about a week ago now that you took us out and took us through the program, through the building, and we got to see a lot of these items. And they are just, they're second to none. It's really cool. Locally made by students at CSI. Now, when they sell these, where does that money go?
There's a club for each of the technical programs that are over at the college, and the club gets the money, and with that money, we're able to take our students and fund them to go to a state competition and to a national competition, and we have had a bunch of winners over the last 5 or 6 years. We've come in first at the state competition many times, and
Wow.
I think at the national competition in Kansas City this past year, one of our guys came in second or third. I don't remember for sure.
Wow, I'll be darned.
That's amazing. And the quality of work is unbelievable. Not to mention what your the whole department is and all the tools and equipment that you have. It's amazing.
I have to admit, by the time I left there, I was drooling. All that nice equipment, that CNC machine. Wow.
As we all are, it's the ultimate lab in the Magic Valley, I think, for woodworking, cabinet making.
Absolutely.
It really
no
is.
question about it.
So the preview tomorrow, people can't purchase anything. They have to wait to the auction, right?
Right, but typically on a Friday when we've had the opportunity to get in the Rick Allen Room early, we have a large number of people from the community come out and look at the furniture and get an idea in mind what's there. We have several patrons that have bought furniture over and over through the years. There's even custom work that goes on. We've done cabinetry in people's homes, and typically as part of the cabinet making program every year, the incoming freshman class and some of the sophomores participate in making cabinets for different houses that are in the community.
Oh, wow. Let me ask you this. Some of these pieces go, I know, for quite a lot of money. Is that tax deductible?
That I can't really answer. I think it would be, but I'm not sure.
Is it you don't know if it's a 501c3 or anything like that? I would think, though, if it's a
with
gift
the college?
to the school.
I don't know.
I was just going to say, if it is, where else can you buy furniture for your house and have it be tax deductible?
Exactly.
Well, plus it's
so that would
beautiful,
be-
and it's
yeah.
really a bargain. The pieces are amazing. What are the times again?
Tomorrow we're going to have a preview from 2 o'clock till 4 o'clock. The preview will start on Saturday, the day of the sale, at 1 o'clock, and the auction will begin promptly at 2.
Is it a live auction?
It is a live auction.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, all right, now, what are we going to bid? All right. Thank you, Mike.
Well, Mike, thank
Sounds
you, and
fun.
thank you for the tour. And
Yeah,
the
it was
pieces
really cool.
are exquisite. If you haven't seen them, it's
and they're
exquisite.
one of a kind.
They
One
really
of a
are.
kind.
It's beautiful stuff.
Mike Tilka, we appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
And go
All right.
Buckeyes.
We got the cops with the bad guys list next. 7360300 is always the number to call here on Top Story. We have Sergeant Keith Thompson with us this morning from the Idaho State Police. Good morning, sir.
Good
How you
morning.
doing?
Good. It's
Good.
good to be here.
You know, when you first came in, I just want to thank you. I want to thank the state police. You gave me an Idaho for my retirement,
Yes.
an Idaho State Police patch.
Yes.
It says this patch was proudly worn by an ISP trooper.
Nice.
I think this is very cool.
Which
And
then
I
Kelly
thank you for
promptly
that.
asked, "Can I arrest people now if I wear this?" So
Well,
watch out if Kelly's wearing that patch.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Exactly.
I don't suppose there's any way of knowing who wore this, or do you give that information?
Yeah, we're not sure who wears it. So.
Okay.
Well,
That's
that's nice.
very cool, though. Very cool.
Someone we fired pretty early because it's
Yeah.
still a clean patch.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Someone who couldn't make it out of the training, whatever.
Well, anyway, shoot, and we were having such a great conversation before, I never even asked you what we're going to talk about today.
Today I'm going to kind of get out the traffic thing and get on, we got a huge part of ISPs are investigations as well, and our investigations are the majority of our investigations are narcotic investigations, and we got a whole branch within every district that does that, and they just kind of wanted to let us know. I mean, I hate to say it, but we do have a large undercurrent of drugs within our community. I believe it's probably because we got the 93 corridor, we got the I-84 corridor, both coming through our area, and it's a good distribution area for drugs and stuff and that type of lifestyle. And we're just out there trying to get people. If you see something happening in your neighborhood, and there's a lot of cars coming, a lot of traffic coming to one house at weird hours of night, it's not they're in, they're out, and they're gone again, and we just like to ask you to maybe give us a call.
Yeah.
And I got numbers for that and everything like that. Let us know what's happening, and we could take a look into that. So,
Wow.
And our main thing is to try to clean up our area from some of the drugs and stuff that are in our area.
Well, and with more and more states legalizing some of these drugs, it's probably making it a little bit tougher. If you look on a map, you can't hardly go anywhere in the Pacific Northwest without going through Twin Falls.
And people have to understand that. I know marijuana is legal in Washington and Oregon and Colorado, but it's not in Idaho.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're traveling through Idaho and you got your medical marijuana or whatever marijuana with you, just realize it doesn't belong in our state, and we don't want it in our state at this point. At time, I mean, things can always change, but at this point, it is illegal, and we're going to treat it as such.
Kind of on that same note, at 9 o'clock, we'll be talking to Dr. Richard Wurst. He is a local forensic psychiatrist.
And a clinical psychiatrist.
A very smart guy, and he'll be talking about the evils of marijuana. So
Really, the
that
effect
should
on
be
the brain.
interesting. Yeah.
And what kind of drugs are you seeing mostly in this area?
Well, we're high on marijuana. Methamphetamines has always been a high producing drug in our area. Interestingly, when they legalized marijuana in so many states, heroin became more prevalent coming up from Mexico instead, because they got to make the farmers down there make a living too.
Supply and demand.
And so if they're not making money off their marijuana, then they'll turn to other cash crops, which the poppy is very good, and getting the heroin up here and everything like that as well.
So why do you think people are doing it, though? I mean, you can put it all you want. You can, lay a ton of heroin in front of me. I'm not going to do it. What's causing people, and is it just young people, or is it all ages?
It could be all ages, and including, a lot of prescribed medications used and abused from our younger kids as well. A lot of those things are very addictive, and people are out there for a good time, and they're not really thinking they have a over sense of their ability, I guess, and they get hooked on these drugs, and then it becomes your slave owner versus your pleasure.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's why I have that whole other program that I could do. So, but it is a problem in our community, and as
what should parents say to their
act upon what is told to them on many times.
And what should parents say to their kids? Like if they're at the age when, they might run into people or just experimentation, what should they say to their kids so they don't even start?
Well, and a lot of that is, do the kids first and foremost have good parents? I mean, I would hope so.
Well,
but,
that wipes out. There you go.
Yeah.
But,
Discussion ending.
Are you spending time with your kids? And are you showing them the good things in life and the things that you do while you're sober? I don't have any problem telling my kids what the jails look like and what's happening in jail and what it is like to go to jail and those type of lifestyles and stuff. Let your kids know that it's good to stay sober, it's good to stay clean, and that these drugs are nothing to mess with because the addiction rates are very high.
We don't have much time left, but do we have a program around here where you can take troubled kids to the jails and say this is what it's like?
We do not. We do not.
We ought to do
Scared Straight.
that.
Like a
Remember that
Scared
one?
Straight
Yeah.
program. Yeah.
And that'd probably be a good thing to do. We'd probably have to get with the county to do that since they run the jail programs.
I would think it would
Take
be
them
a
to the
doable deal,
Jerome
though.
jail because they all have to flush at the same time still, right?
That's right.
Sleep on
They're
floors.
getting that new one, though. They
Yeah.
needed that, too.
Up until
Yeah,
that point, though. There you go. Well,
Sergeant
please be
Keith,
safe out
Sergeant
there.
Keith Thompson, we appreciate what you do. Thank you for the patch. And
And
What?
can you give my number, the number
Sure.
if you see anything in your community?
what is your number?
It's 324-6000, 6000.
324-6000. Write
Right.
that number down. Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be safe out
And
there.
this is Top Story. 7360300 was always the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And if you have been out there cutting up firewood or trying to cut down a cherry tree or any kind of a tree
like
for that
George
matter.
Washington.
Yeah, and you just find that you're working 2 or 3 times harder than you should be with that chainsaw. Here's something to consider. A new one. Buy yourself a Christmas present from Clearwater Power Equipment. They've got Husqvarna and Echo chainsaws. I saw a wood splitter out there the other day. I've seen a snow blower. I'm confident that sometime this winter, we'll be able to use a snow blower. And all that kind of power equipment that you just need for around the house. So that's okay. Just rip the microphone right off of the thing there, Jill.
How am I supposed to move it to get it closer? I don't know how to do that. Like this?
Anyway, the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment can help you out. 252 Washington Street, 734-7767. You know, if the husband or the wife or the mom or the dad needs a new chainsaw, that's the place to go. Because that's what they do.
That's it.
Up at 9 o'clock, we'll be talking to Dr. Richard Wurst. We'll be talking about marijuana and how bad it might be.
Yeah, and he has an interesting background. I think 40 years. Well, he's been a clinical psychiatrist, a
Yeah, he's
forensic
been around
psychiatrist.
here for a long time.
And so it's interesting. He said usually during December he talks about, back in the past he used to do radio, they'd have him on and talk about the depression of the holidays. It's like, we're skipping a pot this year, okay?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, there's a story out of Bellingham, Washington that's kind of interesting. If I may relate it to you, Erica May Carey and Cleve Rango haven't applied for a Washington state marriage license, but they said their vows before God. They said, we just prayed and invited God to bless our relationship so we'd have a family built on a firm foundation. They'd only known each other a matter of hours before they decided to spend their lives together. Soon after, they conceived their first son. Almost immediately after his birth, Carrie was pregnant again. This time, the couple's Christian beliefs influenced their decision to have an unassisted home birth. To preserve the sacred space of her womb, Carrie never even had an ultrasound. It wasn't until immediately after the birth of their second son that the couple realized a twin daughter was on the way. The young couple now had 3 children, all under the age of 1 year.
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't even know that was possible, but I guess one of them was a set of twins, and that makes sense. But anyway, Erica breastfed all 3. Soon after, however, paramedics showed up when someone reported the birth. According to Carrie and Ringo, the paramedics suggested taking the newborns to the hospital for a checkup, but they refused, worrying about the twins' health with fragile immune systems among patients fighting disease. The next day, Child Protective Services showed up for the first of several visits. Officers noticed the 10-month-old's eczema, the couple says, which they treated with natural remedies like probiotics and coconut oil. They say CPS pushed them to switch to steroid creams, which the couple refused as well. They said, saying it's very harsh treatment, has some negative side effects, etc. They wanted she says that they wanted the authority in my household. I'm a Christian, and God gave me the authority in my household, said Ringo. That was the husband. Soon after that, Child Protective Services took all 3 children. In a petition filed Tuesday, the couple's attorney calls the seizure unlawful, unconscionable, and inexcusable. Though there were calls to the home about domestic issues prior to the children's birth, the petition claims no evidence of clear and present danger, rather that CPS is trying to impose their standards of proper parenting. Except now the petition continues. The couple's oldest son not only has eczema, he is also suffering from pneumonia while in state custody. That is our flesh and blood, Carrie said. Ringo and Carrie missed their son's first birthday last week, and they see their children only once a week. DHS has sent the following statement, DSHS, I should say. Due to confidentiality, we cannot, of course, discuss details except to say that a court determined a child safety required removal from the home. No policy of Children's Administration would allow a child to be taken due to a home birth. A home birth is not in any way a child safety risk factor in the view of Children's Administration. So the Child Protective Services took the 3 children and saying at the same time that, well, wasn't taken due to the home birth. But that's all they are saying.
Well, they had them because they were there. And, I agree with these people on so many levels. If you can do natural stuff, and I do natural stuff over medicine or the harsh things. The war on drugs is really the prescription drugs. It's not even the illegal drugs. There are a lot of things about this. I don't know why they took her children. And this is the thing that concerns me. If you don't do a medical procedure, we saw this happen here in Idaho. They took the baby from them because they weren't going to do a spinal tap when it was the most extreme form of treatment. I feel terrible. I don't know why they would take her children from her.
Well, it even indicated...
You are allowed to have home births.
And it indicated in this story here that, well, they never even had an ultrasound. Well, ultrasounds haven't been around since humanity started.
No, and she's lucky in her home birth that she didn't have complications. She is lucky.
Sure.
There is always a risk, especially when you have no one there. If they just did it themselves, they're so lucky. My dad was an OBGYN. Women die during birth. It is not risk-free. Babies die. They come out, and not to know you have twins. Okay, fine. Maybe they don't have insurance. Maybe they didn't want to afford an ultrasound. That's fine. It seems extreme because you would probably want to know what you're walking into when you have a birth. It could be, the babies could be breech. There's so many things that could happen. Fine, maybe that's why.
But as you said, it's not illegal to have home birth.
No. People do them all the time.
I'm just wondering why we see more and more of these types of stories. Now, admittedly, we only know part of the picture. We don't know... because they're not saying, because of that confidentiality, it's a secret type deal, as to why CPS went in there and took the children. Now, apparently one of the 10-month-old is suffering from eczema. Well, that is a skin condition. I don't know that is can be fatal. It's like serious dandruff, I guess. And then the one boy is suffering from pneumonia. So did he get that after the state took him? So we don't know that. But it's just.
I think it's important for Child Protective Services if you found out something was going on, fine, you check on the kids. Do you know what I mean? Because the kids can't fight for themselves if they are being abused.
Understood.
But in this case, I don't know. We don't know all the facts, and it just seems disturbing. And it seems disturbing with I don't know, the police or the medical deciding how you should treat your kids or yourself.
See, yes.
That bothers me because it's our body, we have the right, but apparently we don't. There you go.
736-0300 is the number to call. And all we can do is look at this with the information that we have before us right now.
That's all we have.
It just seems to me that there is a government agency that is getting a little overzealous. Now, if I knew all the facts, I might change my mind, but it disturbs me that we see more and more of this stuff all the time when there are legitimately children out there that need to be taken from their home because they're druggy parents, if they have both parents, and living in squalor.
Plus, they try to work with those parents to get the kids back in the home.
Yeah, and in
here
a case like this, they
taken
just go in and take the kids. I don't get it. I'm concerned. 736-0300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. In what you guys are saying, there is 2 kinds of medicine. There is man-made medicine, and there is God's medicine. I am a student of God's medicine. The more I study God's medicine, the less respect I have for man-made medicine and the pharmaceuticals that are pushing all these chemicals and pills on everybody. That's all I have to say.
Well, there we go.
Thank you.
We finally agree. No,
Well,
but the thing of it is medicine used to be herbs. Herbs used to be the original form of medicine, and there are a lot of problems. Like I said, the war on drug is really the prescription drugs. I mean, you talk about OxyContin, they put that on, they give it to you after surgery. I'm telling you, after I don't even know how many days, a friend of mine got addicted. She had no idea how powerful this drug was that they gave her for pain. And she had to go to rehab. I mean, it was terrible.
But that was a legal drug, so
that's
that
legal.
was okay.
So that's fine, but
it's not okay
your entire life.
It's not okay, apparently, to treat your 10-month-old's eczema with coconut oil and whatever else it was that they were using.
I don't know what she said.
See, I don't know. 7360300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, it's one thing I don't know for getting the whole story because this couple seems to have a lot of their own ideas. I'll tell you that right now.
Is that a bad thing?
No, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I do agree. I mean, my son was home birthed in Eugene, Oregon with a midwife, and she had privileges at the hospital.
Yeah.
And we went there for Pitocin. It ended up in the hospital, but and that was nice to have that. At the same time, if you look at, I don't know if you followed the case of that Justine in Massachusetts, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She ended up in worse shape in the state's care.
Right.
And this person seems like they might be ending up in worse state in this. If they did it just because of the eczema, I think that's absolutely absurd and scary.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have little skin conditions they just treat with any way they want to.
Yeah.
It's not a life-threatening thing, and a lot of those things can go away over time anyway.
I just think, they were lucky. I mean, you had a midwife. It doesn't sound like they even had a midwife. And it was kind of like, oh, I'm surprised they're twins. I mean, I'm glad everything came out, but boy, it could have gone horribly wrong. She could have died. The babies could have died. And not
Sure.
that I have no problems with people having a midwife. I think you have to have someone there who knows something.
That stuff can even happen at the hospital. I mean,
absolutely.
At the hospital, they can pick up a staph infection that they might not have picked up at home. So, it's kind of a two-way street.
No, it's true. But when everyone thinks delivering a baby, it's just so natural and everything goes fine. No, it doesn't. Women die in childbirth all the time. And babies die too. And
it just concerns me that it seems like we're hearing more and more stories about Child Protective Services going in and taking children from families when the families are trying to kind of do their own thing. This is America, It's like the couple that was up in Nampa. Like you say, that they wound up being barred from seeing their children were taken away because they didn't want to give them a spinal tap.
Yeah, I think was it like a 3-month-old, a spinal tap, and they didn't rule out a cold or a fever. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
7360300, top story. You're on the air.
You have freedom of choice as long as your choice aligns with the government.
That seems like it's what it's doing anymore. Yeah, you're right.
A classic slippery slope. I mean, you started seeing this stuff a few years back, a lot of it, and you're going to see more and more of it as long as they keep getting away with it.
Of course,
keep it in the news.
Is it the government or is it the medical industry and big pharma?
I mean, that's the problem with having.
I'm sorry, but the medical one.
That's the problem with having the government run healthcare. They're huge.
Gosh.
They're absolutely huge, and there's nothing you can do to fight it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know. Things are getting scary. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I have a problem with Child Protection Agency. My relative, they were doing all. The daughter was the mother of the child was burning the baby with cigarettes. And,
oh my goodness!
And all this stuff, and they wouldn't do anything. But yet, in a case like this, they'll go after the babies.
Yeah, see, it seems to be uneven at times. Now, don't get me wrong. I think we need a Department of Child Protective Services because of situations like that where they're burning. And I know that probably a lot of their decisions are the right decisions when they go in and take children out of bad situations.
But you also have to report it. So you have to wonder, was it being reported and they ignored it? Was your family calling in and saying, look, she's burning kids? If they aren't aware, part of it is if you see something, you have to say something, because if they don't know, they're not just going to go into a home.
Well, I do know this, folks. We need to remain vigilant with the government and keep an eye on them. And I don't know, it just seems like anymore we can do that, and it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. But These more and more of these types of stories are coming into the spotlight, and yep, we're going to tell you about every one of them. We got Dr. Richard Wurst coming up this next hour. We're going to talk about marijuana and how it can be bad for you right here on Top Story. And welcome back to Top Story, 7360300, always the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Kelly. Same to you.
It's warming up. It's 46.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we've had like shirt sleeve weather here lately, you know, and we're getting up on Christmas. Although I can remember we've had a few Christmases in the past that were shirt sleeve Christmases. So, you know, we'll see if it happens again this year, but we'll pray for snow.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to get some snow here to the area.
Okay.
We're going to have an interesting hour. First of all, coming up later, we have Andy White from the Idaho Trappers Association. Some things coming up in that group that we want to talk about. Right now, we have Dr. Richard Wurst, and that name might sound familiar to a lot of you because Dr. Wurst has been a psychiatrist in this area, Twin Falls area, for many, many years. And Dr. Wurst, welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming on today.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here.
We're going to talk about marijuana and the bad side of marijuana. But before we get into that, can you give our listeners a little bit of your background?
Yes. I've got the traditional training for a psychiatrist. I went to medical school, got an MD degree, then did 3 years of residency in psychiatry. And then that finished my formal training, and then I went into the United States Air Force at Mountain Home, Idaho, which is what got me to Twin Falls. And then I went back to Ohio State, and I was in charge of the Student Mental Health Center there for 3 years at a gigantic university. Then I came back to Twin Falls in, I believe, 1973, something like that.
Okay.
And I've been primarily a clinical psychiatrist, meaning treating people, although I was the director of Region 5 Mental Health, and I also was the first director at Canyon View. But mainly I'm a treating psychiatrist, but I'm also a board-certified forensic psychiatrist, so I've been able to be involved in a lot of issues that relate to psychiatry and legal issues.
Okay. Now, when we get into the conversation here, I want to make it clear, too, that you're speaking from strictly a science side, and there's no moral judgment or anything in there. This is just coming from medical science, correct?
Absolutely not. I just want people to understand that tetrahydrocannabinol is a mind-altering chemical, no different than Prozac.
Yeah. Okay.
And when you say that, like, because how many drugs are people taking legally? That when you prescribe, when you say Prozac and all these things that people, Wellbutrin, I can't even say that.
Well, thousands and millions of people are taking the antidepressants, the anti-anxiety agents, the antipsychotics, the medications for ADHD. All of these are psychoactive, mind-altering drugs being given for good purposes, but every single one of them, in cannabis as well, has side effects and a downside which needs to be respected.
So when you say it's a psychoactive drug, maybe people don't understand what that means.
That means a chemical that is essentially absorbed into the bloodstream in various ways, goes to the liver where it's metabolized, sent to the brain, where if it is psychoactive, it will have an effect on some part of the brain. But the important thing is different psychoactive chemicals have effects on different parts of the brain and different brain substances like dopamine, serotonin.
So is that why some people will try a few different types of drugs to get the right one for them? Because you'll hear that all the time. Is it because they affect different parts of the brain?
That's correct. If I'm treating someone with depression, I start out with a drug that increases serotonin. But if that doesn't work, then I'm beginning to think about norepinephrine, and I might switch from Prozac to Wellbutrin to try to get to something that is going to meet what their specific need is.
Okay. So that's the same then with marijuana. When you hear some people, when you come out and try to say some of the bad things that can happen with marijuana, somebody else will say, well, I've smoked it for 40 years and it's never done anything to me. So that's kind of what we're looking at here then. Maybe they just were lucky.
They were lucky and a lot, because the other aspect that needs to be appreciated is what kind of genes you have. We're learning that now. I mean, I've been in psychiatry now almost 50 years, and what we're learning in the last 10 years is absolutely amazing compared to what I was taught 40 years ago. We're really into brain chemistry now, and how subtle and complex it is. And marijuana, it comes down to what your genes are. If you got the right kind of gene, you may be able to smoke a lot of marijuana, and it might not do very much of anything to you. If you got the wrong kind of gene, you may end up having schizophrenia.
So it's kind of a crapshoot then.
It is definitely a crapshoot.
Now, you were more concerned because you wrote an article for the Times News, was like a couple weeks ago, about it, and you were really concerned about the young brain. Why are you so concerned about this?
Well, that's essentially the latest thing, kind of, in psychiatry, is appreciation that the brain is not fully developed till people are about 25 years old. And that has many implications, like in forensic psychiatry. There's been laws, issues, whether a teenager, a 15-year-old, like, for instance, in this state, I have a real issue with Sarah Johnson, who was convicted of killing her parents and given a fixed life sentence. Now, the argument could be made, even if she did do that, which she was found guilty, she had a 16-year-old brain when she did it. And fixed life sentences for somebody whose brain isn't mature is not considered a good thing in the rest of the country. So brain maturity is a big factor now. And I see it in my practice right here. But the people that I've seen that have gotten in trouble are the people that are using marijuana almost daily, all through 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. And a sizable percentage of those people will have lifelong difficulty.
Okay, give us some examples maybe of what you have seen has happened.
Well, apathy is the big thing, because marijuana has an effect to calm people. So many people with anxiety or ADD who are kind of hyper, they really like it because it relaxes them. But if you do that to an immature brain, eventually the brain doesn't tolerate stress, and therefore you're not willing to study for a big test, go to a job you don't like, do anything that you don't like,
or maybe do something violent. And you
well,
really
that's
don't
the
care.
other side of it, where your ability to handle stress and anger and frustration, you don't have it, because the marijuana has kind of eliminated that, so you won't tolerate it.
Because you're just not used to dealing with it, because you've never had to do. If you smoke it every day for 10 years, you would never have to deal with stress because your body's just kind of like relaxed from the pot.
Well, I'm kind of focusing more on the organic quality of this. That's a bit more psychological, and that's a factor too. But the part I'm trying to emphasize is this is a chemical, and it's going to do something chemically to specific people's brains. That's what I'm concerned about.
And there's no way to predict that until they already do it, I suppose. Huh?
Not at this point. Now, it might be psychiatry is doing some amazing things now. Within 10 years, we might be able to tell you in advance how dangerous a psychoactive chemical is. I mean, we're already doing that in some places with Prozac and the antidepressants, where we can check a person in advance and say they're going to respond to this kind of antidepressant, but they're not going to respond to that one. That's how far we've come. It's not in Twin Falls yet, but it's at the Mayo Clinic a bit.
So would you say, do you think it's safe to say that marijuana smoking is safer the older you get? Or does that have any bearing on it?
You might make that argument. It's safer depending on the stage in life. If you start smoking after 25, especially if it's just reasonable smoking, you're probably not going to have the risks. In fact, you're almost for certain not going to have the risks if you start putting that chemical in your brain before it's a mature brain. And I can give you examples of that. I mean, friends of mine that are doctors that when I was in medical school, which was back in the 60s, a lot of doctors were smoking pot and their wives and stuff like that. And there wasn't much difficulty. But these were people who were in their 20, 25, 30, already had gotten into medical school. They had already shown the ability to deal with stress, and their brain was fully mature. So they could, smoke the pot And
it's probably safe to say, too, that the pot back then probably wasn't as, I don't know, for lack of a better word,
potent,
good
right?
as or potent. Yeah, that's a good as it is now.
That's what I've read. That's my
Yeah.
understanding, yes, that it's quite a bit stronger now. So
Is
that
there-
could be a factor.
Is there an addictive quality to it? Because so many people say, "Oh, I'm not addicted," but they smoke it every day.
Well, there is an addictive quality. The argument there is, well, maybe not argument, but the issue there is whether it's a psychological addiction or a biological addiction, and I don't think we can sort them out yet. We're not that smart. But definitely, I mean, some people will get just addicted to the psychological comfort of it, the placebo effect. I mean, in my business, there's a placebo effect. Well, you can get a placebo effect with cannabis, too, where you anticipate that it's going to make you feel good, so it does.
Is there? What do you say to the person who says, "What's the big difference between having a glass of wine or having a joint after work?"
Okay, it's a completely different brain-altering chemical. Alcohol is a brain-altering chemical, which can give you dementia and many different diseases, but it acts on a different part of the brain in a different way, in a different time frame.
So do you think it is as dangerous as cannabis? I mean, do you compare it when people say that to you? Do you say, well, it's just acting in a different part of the brain, or yes, it is as bad for you?
Well, if you look at, I don't know that you can answer that question because they're two different things. You get one kind of brain damage with alcohol. Actually, you get several kinds, not just one. But you get different types of brain damage with cannabis, just like you do with haze or LSD or Prozac or any of the meds that I've been using for 40 years.
So if someone's on Prozac and they go off of Prozac, is that a problem, or once you're on it forever? Like, does it alter your brain so much where you can't live your life without it?
No, that's not true. It depends on the person, and some people will do very nicely on Prozac for years, and others it will wear off. And again, these are issues that are taking place at the level of the specific genetically determined brain cell. So what I'm trying to emphasize is the brain cell.
Okay.
We got a caller here. Top story. You're on the air with Dr. Wurst.
Good morning.
Hello.
You're on the air.
Are you there?
Okay.
I don't know. I guess we won't take that call then. Okay, so anyway, we're just about to go into a break. We have Dr. Richard Wurst with us here this morning talking about the downside to marijuana, clinically speaking and scientifically speaking. And we'll be right back. If you have any questions or comments, this would be a good time. 736-0300 is the number to call. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story before we get back to our conversation of the downside of marijuana. Yesterday's one on the Word of the Day brought to you by the Happy Landing Restaurant, where I will be going today at noon.
Okay, so if
Yep.
you want to see Kelly there, go to the Happy Landing Restaurant.
Well, let's not make this about me,
Why
Joe.
not, Kelly? Why should today be different than any other day?
This is about the Happy Landing Restaurant.
Right.
If you're a first-time visitor there and you tell them you heard about it with Kelly and Jill and you purchase a drink or a meal, they'll give you a free piece of pie. Homemade pie, too, not just any store-bought piece of pie. They do their own. They're at the Twin Falls Airport. Yesterday's $100 instant winning name is Janelle Peterson.
Janelle Peterson, congratulations.
And the $100 word of the day for today is ribbon.
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 Go to our website at newsradio1310.com, click on Word of the Day, type in ribbon, listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, you'll win 100 smackaroonies.
That's how easy that is.
That's right. Dr. Richard Wurst is our guest this morning here on Top Story. Dr. Wurst, a lot of people argue over the fact of whether or not marijuana is a gateway drug. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I strongly believe that it is a gateway drug. And in saying that, now I'm not talking about brain chemistry as I am talking about marijuana culture. Because in my work with various people throughout the community, there's definitely in some areas a strong culture. Well, within that culture, a lot of people are drinking a lot of alcohol, which is another brain-altering chemical, albeit different, but still. Many of them will be using meth, in the process of the partying and the culture. A few of them are going to get into haze and some of the more experimental drugs that are out there now that have killed some people right in the Magic Valley. A young man in Ketchum died. And it again, it's not going to be that way for everybody. But I think we have to realize the danger of the people that are involved in that culture that are going to try other drugs too.
Yeah. As we talk this morning, I can see, as you explain this, the drugs don't always harm people unless they are kind of predisposed through just their makeup of their body. Genes. Yeah.
The term to emphasize is what sort of genes do you have? And we are now accumulating scientific data to show you those genes. Just to give you a quick example, which helped me a lot understand this, was PTSD from the people in Afghanistan and Iraq. When they studied the people that got PTSD and the ones who didn't, even though all of them, the whole group had been blown up, seen their friend's head blown off, about half of them got PTSD, which is a brain issue, and half of them didn't. The half of them who did not had a genetically different amygdala, which is the part of the brain that deals with fear.
Really? Does that have anything to do? Could it be in any way, shape, or form attached to maybe part of the half that did get it or on some sort of drug or marijuana?
Well,
or
that's
anything?
possible, but that's not what the research that I've read showed. Mainly what it showed was the people that got the PTSD had different genes. They had a different type of amygdala, which is the main brain organ that deals with fear.
Okay.
So you really just don't even know. I mean, you don't know. How would anyone know this? And then they did gene therapy and then go, okay, well, you shouldn't smoke pot and you shouldn't have, you know what I mean? Like you really.
Which sounds like might be possible in the future.
We're working on that's. Yeah. I think that'll be for sure within 20 years and possibly 10 because they're working on it right now. Like I said, at the Mayo Clinic and some of the big centers, right now they have some gene. Evaluations that will tell you what's the best antidepressant to pick for this person, what's likely to work. Well, antidepressants that's why I'm into this. They are brain-altering drugs, just like marijuana is a brain-altering drug. They just operate on a different chemical in a different place in the brain. That's
those are legal.
So it's kind of
and they're legal. But if someone was a perpetual smoke pot, say for years and years and years, and they want to get off pot, do you recommend they go to another psychoactive drug? I mean, so they don't have they could have episodes of rage or things like that?
Boy, that's a very good and a very tough question, and I'd better say I don't know on that one because, again, cannabis has been so well accepted in the society. I mean, we got places like the Walker Center that'll help you get off narcotics and alcohol and those kinds of brain-altering drugs, but I'm not aware of any science to help people. I mean, you probably, I could help some, other doctors could too, by giving them meds that would help some with anxiety, but that's an area of research. Yeah. And again, that's my concern with this. I don't think there's been enough research about cannabis. There's been a lot more about Prozac than there has been about cannabis.
We got a caller. Top story. You're on the air with Dr. Wurst. Good morning.
Good morning. The cop you had on earlier told the answer to this whole thing. He said that once marijuana was legalized, the dealers started losing money, so they started shipping in other drugs. There's the answer to the whole thing. Legalize it, quit breaking the law, and get your nose out of everybody's business.
All right, well, we'll ask the doctor about his opinion on that when we come back right here on Top Story. And we're back, 7360300. The number to call. Dr. Richard Wurst is our guest this morning here on Top Story. We're talking about the downside, the bad side of recreational marijuana, or marijuana in general. But, okay, we got a caller waiting, but we had a caller before the break said, okay, we just need to legalize the whole thing and quit sticking our noses in other people's business, essentially. So how do you respond to that?
Well, my response would be that I have no problem with legalizing cannabis for medical purposes backed up by appropriate research, just like the other meds that I keep referring to that we use to alter brain chemistry hopefully to help people. And it's quite possible that for some people with pain, glaucoma, those, and maybe some other things, tetrahydrocannabinol could be helpful to them. And I have no objection to that as long as it's properly studied and properly managed. But that's really not what's going on, and that's definitely not the case when it's being used recreationally.
736-0300. Top story. You're on the air with Dr. Wurst. Good morning.
Good morning. I think we all need some because Kelly's leaving and anxiety is getting high.
Deal with it.
Deal with it. No, I'm not for legalizing it because it's just going to lead to something else. Where do you stop? I mean, but 50 years ago, marijuana was very mild, and it's not anymore. It is bred to be powerful. Why can't we just breed it to get just the stuff we need out of it for medical use and set it down that way in an oil form or something that can be smoked in a battery-operated cigarette or something like that, and have it medically that way. That way it's not causing brain-altering things, just helping the problem that they have.
I think we kind of do that, don't we? Don't they? Can't they isolate what is the THC or whatever in marijuana?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Isn't that? Can't they isolate the part of marijuana that makes you high? Can't they isolate that and put that in a pill or something?
Well, yeah, there are other forms that it can be given. I mean, some people eat it in cookies, and as long as it has a way of getting into the bloodstream, then that's all that matters to get the chemical to the part of the brain where it's going to work, depending on the genes again. I'm really emphasizing genes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost, to me, it just sounds like to me that they're using it in place of, when they're doing it perpetually, I think on a daily basis, like they would Prozac or Wellbutrin or Zoloft or things like that. I mean, it's changing their chemical of their brain, and that's how they're living, dealing with that, when they really maybe should be treated, although they're going to be on another psychoactive drug. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of odd. Like, without it, do they really need help? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, are they going to it because they need help in their life, and they're doing this instead of going through the medical route?
Well, that's an excellent question, because there would be a certain percentage of those people that probably do have an anxiety disorder or something where they actually do need a brain-altering medication, whether it be an anti-anxiety agent or an antidepressant. So for that group, they probably do need a brain-altering chemical, but it needs to be under the direction of somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right.
Now, there will be other people that didn't start out that way, especially if their brains are young.
Yeah.
But if you are using tetrahydrocannabinol from 13 to 18, you're going to have a problem after that, even if you did not start out with one.
Okay.
In many, many cases. Maybe not all.
Yeah. Top story. You're on the air with Dr. Wurst. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, wait a minute.
Are you hitting the buttons?
I'm sorry. Start over again. I had the wrong switch up.
To a couple of callers ago that said that marijuana, people need to stay out of their business. Well, DUIs is everybody's business. And is there no such thing as medical marijuana? Isn't that just an argument to legalize marijuana?
I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thought. What do you think?
Well, that's probably true. And I say that because I have not, I get and read 6 journals and 5 newsletters a month on what's the latest thing in medicine. And I've never really seen medicine trying to do studies on this to do that. So I think I'm agreeing with you.
So it's
really,
mostly
and this term, the medical marijuana, is a little bit dishonest without the research to back it up.
Yeah, interesting. Well, we are out of time at Dr. Wurst. I want to thank you for coming in and
Thank
talking
you
to
so
us
much.
about this today.
Appreciate
we might
it.
even have you back in the future. Depends on what happens here. So thank you very much.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. And this is Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. 7360300, the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Just a reminder, Christmas coming up, and things are just getting more expensive nowadays. There's no secret to that, and you just can't afford to buy some of the things that you used to be able to buy. Mm-hmm. Well, if you tried a pawn shop, you might be surprised what you will find and what you can afford. Wedding rings, engagement rings, watches, guns, camping equipment, woodworking equipment, whatever he or she likes or is interested in, you're probably going to find it at Canyon Pawn, Twin Falls' newest pawn shop. They've got all of that stuff I mentioned and so much more. And we even had a caller yesterday calling in and comment about how clean the store was at Canyon Pawn.
It is clean.
I tell you,
beautiful.
that's one of Dave Hansen's niggles, is he keeps his store clean. So
Niggles?
you can walk into that store in your Sunday best, and you don't have to worry about it.
That's right.
Stop by and see him. Say hi to him. Tell him we sent you in, Dave Hansen and the crew at Canyon Pawn, across from Will's Toyota at the corner of 3rd Avenue South and Shoshone Street, and they would love to see you. We have Andy White with us this morning from the Idaho Trappers Association. Hello, Andy.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank
Move your
you.
microphone right in front of your face. Yeah, you go.
Yeah,
Why shouldn't
there
you make
go.
a noise like I
There
do?
you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So you're good. You're good. That's
Okay.
good. What do you got coming up?
Well, the Idaho Trappers Association has switched from hosting annual fur sales to being a shipping agent for the North American fur auctions.
Okay.
So what that means is we collect fur from trappers and predator callers and ship that to Canada to put in front of an auction crowd that consists of international buyers. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of pelts, millions of dollars worth of sales. And these buyers are from China, Greece, Russia, the U.S., Canada, pretty much all over the world.
All right.
So we have a fur collection event coming up December 13th, and we're planning to do 4 of these. There are 4 auctions in Canada, and so we're picking fur up right now for the very first auction, which is coming up in January. So December 13th is going to be our first fur collection, and it's going to be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and we're going to do it in, 5 different locations across the state. We're going to have a pickup in Salmon. The location, we're still working on a location up there. I'll be the contact for that, which my contact phone number will be 208-944-0774, or I can be contacted by email also at info@idahotrappersassociation.com. So that's the Salmon location. St. Anthony, which is up by Rexburg, we'll have the fur pickup there will be at Teton Trap Company. That'll be run by Dan Davis. He owns the trap company, Teton Trap Company. He can be reached at 208-403-3896. And his email is Teton Trap Company. It's TETONTRAPCO @juno.com. And he is not exactly sure what the address is on that. So anybody who wants to drop fur off on Saturday needs to contact Dan.
Or they can contact you about any of these, right? If
Yes.
they don't happen to get it.
Yes, I can be contacted. I'll have the information here in the next day or two on these 2 locations that aren't quite set in stone. There'll be a Burley location. That will be at the Cal Ranch store at 226 North Overland Avenue. I'm the contact information for that as well. Also, Sportsman's Warehouse in Twin Falls by the Perrine Bridge, and Mountain Home. We'll also have a collection site set up in Mountain Home. They're working on a couple of different options for a location there. We did have it at the president's property for the last few pickups, but he's moved, and we've got to find another location to host this at.
All right. But that'll all be in place by the 13th.
That will all be in place in the next couple of days. So
all right.
Any trapper or predator caller who wishes to sell fur on the international market, get in contact with me, and we will certainly put you in touch with the right pickup location.
Are there quite a few trappers and predator callers around these days?
It's growing a lot and fast here in Idaho. When I first started trapping here, I think we had about 1,500 or 1,600 trappers in the state. And once they opened it up to wolf trapping, we jumped a little bit, but it has climbed steadily every season since. We're at about 2,100 trappers in the state right now.
I see.
Predator callers is a little harder to gauge, but that's growing here too.
We're just about out of time, so let's give your contact information again. If anybody has any questions about not only these locations, but about trapping and predator calling in general.
Yep. The contact information for me, the phone number again is 208-944-0774. Email address is info@idahotrappersassociation.com. And I will relay the information to anybody who's interested. We also encourage the public, even though these will be held on private property, we encourage the public, trappers, non-trappers alike, to come see us, and we can teach them how to get a pet out of a trap or something like that.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors, and the number is 736-6563. I don't mind telling you, I'm having a hot flash right now. Should men my age have hot flashes?
Yeah, well, you guys go through menopause. But,
well, that's the case. I've been going through it for 10 years.
Did you have any sugar this morning? A lot of times if you have sugar or things like that will cause...
Did I? I don't think I did.
What did you eat this morning, KLIXcast?
I had some chicken noodle soup that somebody brought us yesterday. That was really good. Mm-hmm. And I had some peanuts.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just the oil, the heat. I don't know.
Well, anyway, enough about me.
No, Kelly, it's always about you.
I want to talk for just a minute about Stanley & Company and the Lowen Honey Loader. Because if you have a dairy or a feedlot that has issues with, lots of manure, which lots of animals can cause, the Lowen Honey Loader from Stanley & Company can help that situation. Now, you might think, I would like to see one in operation first. So you can do that. Get a hold of Pat Hartzell. He's the guy. Here's his personal cell number, 280-1167. Get a hold of Pat. And... he can fix it up. He can set you up an appointment so you can see one of these Lowen Honey Loaders in operation at one of the local feedlots. And you might just decide, yep, that's the thing for us. And he can sell you one too. Yeah,
that's what we need.
280-1167, Pat Hartzell with Stanley & Company. He's the guy you want to talk to. We got our winter's lunch tomorrow. With Dennis and Cheryl Becker.
We do.
Here, they'll meet us here just before noon. We'll take the limo down to the Canyon Crest Dining and Event Center.
That's right.
We'll have a lovely lunch, and we'll come back in the limo.
And that's how it works. And then Saturday, I'm actually going to be at the Art of the Gift Authors and Artisans on the Rim with the at the Twin Falls Arts Center. And so from 11 to 7, they're going to have 30 local authors and artisans, and great way to buy local holiday gifts. Yeah. And you can get my cookbook. I will sign it. I'll have caramel corn, and I will be there.
And don't forget the CSI woodworking auction tomorrow also.
That's right.
Not tomorrow, Saturday.
Well, the preview's tomorrow 2 to 4,
yes,
and then the auction is I think at 2, but the doors open at 1 in the Rick Allen room.
So is the artist thing tomorrow or Saturday?
Saturday.
Okay.
It's Saturday, so I'm not going to be able to make the live auction.
Yeah.
Are you going to go?
I might.
They had a really great rolling pin in there. This beautiful.
Yeah, they have a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
There. If you want to just sign a check for me, I'll go down there
sure.
and I'll buy whatever you want.
I'll never see the money again, and nor will I see the item, I got a feeling.
Sure you would.
Whatever.
Hey, thanks for joining us, folks. We'll be back tomorrow right here on Top Story. Who do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have Dave Workman from the Idaho Lottery, and we also have Rod Haynes because the Medicare deadline is ending.
All right, so be another full day tomorrow. Have a good one. See you then. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.